in the personal finance space, specifically when it comes to influencers, we have a duty of care because this is people's money at the end of the day. To our audience, your followers, whatever that looks like, if it's a course, we're putting our everything into it to make sure that these people come out with a success instead of like, oh, I just got ripped off for $97.
What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the 9 to Fly podcast. I am your host, Sania Elamine of Flynanced, and as always, I have a very special treat for you today. My guests today are the faces of personal finance for women, first gen, and communities of color. Their content is seen by millions of people online every day, and what I admire most about these women is they're like the OG. Like I've learned so much from both of them in my own creator journey, and being able to see how they have grown their empires and been able to ditch the 9-to-5s. I knew that I had to bring them on to the show, okay? You may know them as Make Real Sense and Millennial in Debt, but I am very proud to call these ladies friends and my sister girls, my black girlies in finance. So please welcome Carmen Perez and Melissa Jean-Baptiste to the show. Hello, hello. Okay, I want people to know who y'all are. Obviously, I know so much about you, but tell us about yourself and where your financial journey began. Do you want to start, Melissa?
Sure. So I am a first-gen Haitian American. So my journey started back when I was applying to college, and I had no idea what finance was. I was just like, okay, you work, you make money, you go to school, that's what it is. And then I graduated and I wanted to buy a home. And I didn't even have a savings account. What was I about to buy? A dollhouse? And so that's when, no, truly, especially living in New York, wasn't about to buy anything. And that's when I really started learning about debt to income ratio. I started figuring out, okay, well, I need to accelerate my debt payoff journey in order to take on this new thing, which is being a homeowner, which is chaotic. And really figuring out how to do all of that on a teacher salary. So that's where my financial journey started. And that's how Millennial in Debt was born.
I love it. So relatable. Carmen? And for the folks that don't know, Carmen was you were one of the first creators that I ever saw online talking about money. We wouldn't even be here if it weren't for you deciding to pay off your debt and blog about it. Yeah. So Carmen, tell us about your journey.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, my claim to fame is getting sued for my student loan, $30,000 of it. So that wasn't the beginning of the journey. That was the thing that started the journey though. But really it was just working in finance for a while, didn't see people that look like me, look like us. And I was just terrible with money behind closed doors, terrible credit, didn't have any money saved. I was paying 18% interest on my car loan. That's like financing a car on a credit card.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, I get this notice in the mail and I was like, what is this? It says summons Queens County Court at the top. And I'm like, what does this mean? Is it jury duty? Why does it have my student loan information at the top? So I Googled it. I was like, oh, this is the start of a lawsuit. This is a complaint that I need to answer. And that was the real big part of my journey, getting started with paying off my debt. And that was how Make Real Sense was born. It was a platform dedicated to teaching people all about the do's and don'ts of personal finance. And I like to say with a little humor on the side,
Yeah. I love it. I'm so excited that y'all are here because we gonna get into it, okay? Because I feel like there are so many misconceptions around what it means to be an influencer, what it means to build a brand online, what it means to leave your 9-to-5 if that's something you should even do. Because it seems like everybody named mama want to be an influencer these days.
Everybody.
Right? Yes. Everybody, okay? Do you consider yourself to be influencers? Why or why not?
That's such a good first question. I don't like the term influencer. It almost feels like a dirty word. I know that is what I am at the root of it, right? I started leaning more into digital creator, digital content creator. Because, on Instagram, you can pick who are you? So I had digital creator for a while and I was so excited to switch it over to author. I was like, leave this influencer stuff behind only because it just feels like, oh, that's not real work. You're an influencer. That's not a job. And I just didn't really want to be labeled as someone like, you're not working because it's work. It is work.
Girl.
But then you have a lot of people. I've had some friends, no shade, but they'll be like, I want to be an influencer. Well, what you trying to influence?
Yeah.
That's the first thing, right?
Good question.
Yeah.
And then Well, I don't know. Like, I want to wear clothes. So, okay. I mean, to me personally, I don't necessarily like the word influencer, but I get it. Like Melissa said, at my core, I think that's what I'm doing. I'm standing on a purpose though, which is to help people genuinely get better with their money. So I want to influence you to, get better, and we can all improve, right? But I've had some friends be like, I want to be an influencer. Okay. So what's your platform going to be? It's like, oh, just me and my personality. I'm going to show up in a big way. Okay. I mean,
that's cool.
So there are definitely influencers out there like that, lifestyle, all the different influences. But I think like it feels dirty when you got people like, oh, I just want to influence.
Yeah.
Over what?
And I almost feel like sometimes I feel like we're anti-influencers because when so many of the lifestyle, beauty, fashion girlies are just constantly trying to sell products, I feel like many of us that talk about money are trying to get people to really consider their consumption patterns and like ask themselves, like, I love when anytime it's like an Amazon Day or Black Friday, Melissa, you'll be like, these are things you don't need. You don't need to buy anything. So I think that that's important too. And then, we gonna get into that. Another question I have for y'all, since we're saying we're not influencers, but is being a creator lucrative, and how lucrative? Anything you want to share?
I think I know, because I share a lot on our close friends, right?
I know. I was gonna say, because you literally just shared something on your close friends, and I was just like, I respect that was on the close friends.
Maybe I missed that one because hell, I know it's lucrative for Melissa for sure.
Melissa's making all of the money. Just
bag is being held.
I own a house, y'all. I gotta make sure I keep the roof attached. It can be lucrative. But what I always talk about is like, yes, I am making a substantial amount of money now, but I've been doing this since 2013. And for the first 6-7 years of just my overall content creation, I wasn't even meeting the threshold, because Google has like a threshold, like you need to make $100 to get a check to get paid. I was not getting paid even the $100 monthly minimum. And so it took a long time and really figuring out how to build the infrastructure to create projects and create these partnerships with brands where it's like, oh, this is nice on this side, but if you think you're gonna, some people do, if you think you're gonna just jump in and be like, I'm gonna create content and make $100,000, show me how you did it in less than a year, because it's difficult.
It is difficult.
I'm shocked that you didn't do it overnight. That's wild.
Right.
No,
wait, you weren't an overnight success?
I wish.
You said 2013. I got to put in that much work?
Yeah. For me, anyway, I know there are some, because we see with like TikTok people like blow up overnight, right? And then we have, I don't even remember all their names, but the girlies doing lifestyle and the get readies with me. And it's just like, they're making so much money and walking all these tube girl was like in fashion shows and stuff. That is an anomaly. It doesn't happen all the time like that for everyone. I wish it did. It's just, that's not the case. But yes, it can be lucrative.
Because when did you start, Carmen? You started in like your blog.
I started blogging in 2016. That was when like influencing wasn't even like a term. That was, like you said, OG. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was just putting my business out there on the internet. Like
putting her whole business out there. And I was at home like, okay, envelope stuffing. Oh, that's what we're doing. Yeah.
So I was like, I didn't know that I was influencing. And I think kudos to us, I hate to, I'm going to give us our flowers, is that I don't think we started this to be influencers. We started this to share our journeys. We started this from, and it's okay. I'm like, again, no shade. If you want to be an influencer, just, to each their own. But I think for us, like that was never the starting point. We didn't have that end game in mind where it was just like, oh, we just want to help people through our pain and our struggle. Well, I'll speak for myself personally, is getting sued, right? So I'm like, I don't want anyone else out there to ever have to deal with this. And it's been lucrative, right? Like when I got laid off in what started the pandemic, 2020, this helped me supplement my portion of the bills at home, having this platform and, having these different contracts. But as lucrative as it is, we turn down deals, all of us,
correct,
every single day that don't align. Again, I think that's where the word dirty is synonymous with influencer, because people will start flipping anything and selling anything to their audience, which I think it's a lot different for us. Yeah. I'm speaking for us. Sorry, y'all.
No, you hit the nail on the head. Okay. That's a good segue to my next question. What are some of your biggest icks of creating online?
Like personally, or ones that I see? Because we could do both.
Whatever comes to your heart, Melissa.
Okay. I think personally for me, one of my biggest icks is just seeing people try to sell anything that does not fit into their niche. And we'll get the pitches all the time. Like I just got pitched by 2 different companies in a very specific industry. And they're like, we love your content. We think your audience would love this. Why do you think that? You are, and I don't want to say the industry, but it's a completely different industry. And they're offering the big bucks. And I know there are going to be influencers who take that. And I'm just like, you're just taking that for the money, right? And so when I could visibly see that this is not aligned with your core content, with what your audience expects from you or usually sees from you, I'm just like, ugh, like this was, and people got to pay bills. I understand, but if you're just jumping on anything for a check, it just doesn't really, the authenticity is lacking there. And it's just like a turn off for me.
Yeah. My big thing is terrible ass advice. When it comes specifically when it comes
selling
to money.
IULs and things like that.
Yeah.
Like pushing those kind of things.
Scammy. It's like you have to protect your space in terms of what information you're consuming and making sure that that person on the other side who is building the content for you to consume has your best interest at heart. Like I have seen so much terrible maybe this fits in for somebody, I don't know, but generally like, go get an LLC to buy a G-Wagon. I was going to say some type of Mercedes, something. Yes. And then you can write the whole thing off, plus all the baby clothes, everything. And it's just like, that's not just
who writes it off? The government?
Yeah,
right,
like,
exactly.
It's not necessarily helpful advice. So that's like a big thing. Like it's just terrible advice or like misinformation. And sometimes I may misspeak in some, I'll try to correct it as quickly as possible in terms of like a number, right? People will be like, oh, that doesn't math. Like, 1 + 1. I say, oh, my bad. I said 3. I meant to say 2. That's okay. But the terrible advice, like that really irks me when it comes to content creation.
Yeah.
Can I add one more thing?
Please.
To piggyback, also with the non-realistic advice or timelines.
Oh, right.
I am very big on transparency. All 3 of us are really big on transparency. And with the advice, like if you start today, you could pay off $3 million in debt in 3 weeks. Buy this course. And it's like, I can't, what? Why would I pay off $3 million? Like, I don't even have $3 million, right? So things like that, where it's just like, this is not realistic. Right. You're setting me up for failure here because you're trying to make a quick buck. And it's just like, that's why it gives us a dirty word, right? A dirty name. So when we are selling real authentic courses to help people and benefit people, we're kind of getting lumped into the like, oh, that's another influencer course. And it's like, no, baby, I am selling you dreams, right? We're giving you the structures and the tools. So that's definitely another big ick.
Well, that sets up people. Sorry, Sania. That sets up people for like, this instant gratification. And I think it's perpetuated, especially in the money space, in terms of like our microwave generation. We want everything quick. So when you have somebody selling you a course that's saying, hey, this is going to take you a minimum 6 months, no one's trying to hear that because the other influencer is saying, I could flip $100 and turn that to $100,000 in 3 days with crypto. Yeah. No one's trying to hear that.
No, I hear you. I would say one of my icks, because let's get really real about it, is the black text. Like, I feel like, especially for the 3 of us as Black women creators, I see the quality of our content. I see the way that we can create trends. Like, I'm talking about the 3 of us specifically creating trends that other creators, non-melanated creators, can come in, swoop up, go viral on, and have so much bigger platforms with such a smaller timeline.
And value add.
Multiple. Yeah. Like, I've seen multiple non-melanated creators, and this is no shade. I'm not trying to make it like us versus them.
Right.
But it's just something that I feel like it is an ick, and it's something that I feel and know.
Yep.
I know when even brands are reaching out to us, I know that they've probably reached out to other creators, and anytime I get pushback on my rates, I know that y'all are not coming to the table going to any of those people pushing back on their rates.
Yep.
So it feels like an ick to me, and I know that there's still so much lack of transparency in the influencer creator space, but like, it really grinds my motherfucking gears.
Burns your toast.
Especially when the girls know who started what y'all talking about and how y'all talking about it.
And certain terms and terminology.
Yeah. Come on.
We know.
And y'all just gonna copy and paste? Yeah, no. I have like no tolerance for it anymore.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Because it's so blatant. It's so blatant. And when you
Blatant.
comment on it, it's like, oh, well, it's common knowledge. Is it? Because no one was talking about it before I was.
Right.
Right.
No one.
Right.
And setups, we've all discussed this behind closed doors. I've even had like templates and stuff. Like,
Oh, I know.
you know, uncanny resemblance when it didn't even exist before. It's like, oh, okay, sure. Like you said, common knowledge, right? That's the blanket. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm going to start protecting this. And that's why I trademark everything.
Yeah.
now.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay.
A fact.
Period.
And copyright.
Correct.
Do the thing.
Protect your coins.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, let's shift gears. I want to get into like where your creator journey started. I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but just kind of really painting the full picture of like from deciding, okay, I'm getting sued for these student loans. What made you decide to create that blog and kind of grow from there? So tell us, like, can you both kind of chime in on what inspired you to start creating content online? And like, where did you start? Because I think it's also, I want to also show that all three of our brands have just evolved so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
So whoever wants to start, feel free.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'll kick it off. Yeah. I had no business writing, first of all. Let me say that. Y'all know that my grammar and spelling skills just aren't up to par. That's why I majored in finance. But I will say I started with the blog 2016, like we said earlier. And that was the decision to do that was one, I just need to get better with my skill. Like, where's my weakness, right? And it's writing, like full stop. And it's still my weakness. It is over the course of now we're nearing how many years? 7 years. It still needs to get better. But I started with the blog because one, I was like, I want to lean into this weakness. Two, I want to be able to teach finance in like a fun way. Whereas I was working Wall Street, like I said, nobody looked like me and nobody was really making this information very accessible.
Yes.
And then the other voice in the space at the time, there was a couple, but it was so negative and like bootstrap mentality and there's no systemic issues that we have to deal with and yada yada. So I just was like, let me lean into
a la Babe Bamsey.
Yeah. Yeah. The name that shall be not mentioned.
Yeah, that could be a whole different stuff.
It's literally like Voldemort saying that.
Yeah.
So leaned into creating the blog and then I was like, cool, I want to actually start making this really accessible just for other people. Language that makes sense, breaking these terms down because I can't stand when people, throw out financial terms and don't provide any context, assuming the other person knows what that is. And then even laughing about it if they don't. It's like, what's a high yield savings account? It's like, why try to make someone else feel dumb?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
I started writing the blog and then Instagram came around and I started like sharing like little pictures and like, oh, this is what I'm doing with my cash envelopes. And I'm going to start doing a couple of YouTubes, dropped off of YouTube because I couldn't sustain like the content creation portion of that. Really leaned into Instagram and then things just kind of took off from there. And it was more so like, I don't have any strategy. Again, what I said at the beginning is like, we didn't start like influencing when I started was not even a term. That was not anything. So it was more like, let me just put this up and try to provide some direction for other people. Cause I'm going to start getting questions. People like, oh, how did you do that? Or what does that look like? And then it just kind of blossomed and grew from there.
I love it.
My internet journey is very long and crazy. But I think my friends and family all laugh. And when we look back, they're like, you were meant to do this. Because I started really, 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 really early. I always loved writing. I was an English major. So I loved writing. And I started on Xanga. I don't know if y'all remember Xanga.
Girl,
I know,
what?
Yeah. I started writing on Xanga and I would write about like breakups and all this stuff. But I would be writing and then you had to learn to like code, like do HTML. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this template. And then it became MySpace and I would just be on there. And then I started writing my own blogger. These are all like,
blogger.
Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, I'm so old. I started writing my own blogger and I would do like sneaker reviews or album reviews. But this was just like all like, meh, whatever. And then I shaved my head in 2013. And my best friend was like, maybe we should tell people about this. I'm like, why? Who cares? And she's like, no, she's like, you write all the time. And I was always taking pictures. And she's like, maybe we should like do a blog. And I'm like, okay. And then so I started a hair blog in 2013 with $10.
Didn't know that.
With $10 on WordPress. And I was like, oh, I know a little bit of like coding from Xanga and MySpace. And I would just do like all the stuff on my own on the back end. And then I started the YouTube. She's like, yeah, show people how you do your hair, which I hated. I was like, can we pivot out of this? Like, I don't want to do that. And then I grew a beauty blog and Instagram. That's where I started. And so it's still out there. Trials and Trusses, I don't post on. It's been definitely like 6 years. But I would like highlight Black women's hair, highlight my own hair and do all of that. And then I really wanted to buy a house. That like, I was like, I want to buy a house and I couldn't. And so everyone was like, oh, you have so many student loans and all this stuff. I'm like, well, how are people my age going to Thailand every week and buying homes and doing all this stuff? I need to know. And then when I started having conversations like, girl, we in debt. Credit cards, we're doing all this stuff. And so I was sitting in embarrassment and shame. And I was like, oh, everyone's going through this. So I wrote a web series. I wrote a web series during Regents Week, which for those who are not in New York, that's like just testing week for teachers with their students. I wrote it in a little notebook when I was supposed to be moderating the students taking tests. I was like, they're good. And I'm writing. And I went back to my best friend. I was like, let's film this. I had no idea how to film anything on that scale. And so we put it up on YouTube and it got really big on YouTube. And I was like, maybe I should do an Instagram for this. Like, I don't know, like this seems like the right next step. And it just like blew up from there into an educational platform. And then Reels came out. When Reels came out, I was like, oh, this is my wheelhouse. Like I can write the captions, I can write the content, I can do the filming and the editing and stuff that I love and still teach people about all the things that I've done, all the mistakes that I've made, all the new things I've learned. And that really was just like, girl, you started talking about your breakups on Zanga, and then you was talking about sneakers on Blogger, and then you was talking about hair, and then now you're talking about money. It's like, yes. So reinvent yourself, change, pivot and do all these things. And now I'm talking about money and careers and things like that. And it's like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Knowing all of that. I did not know that about you, Melissa.
Chaos.
That makes so much more sense. I think why you're so creative when it comes to personal finance content is because like you've had to make it
in
work
this game.
in multiple niches. Okay.
Yeah.
I truly feel
Melissa
like
has been here.
y'all both have been here. Okay.
Try.
I feel like I stand on your shoulders because like I started in 2020. Like I feel like y'all had kind of laid the groundwork for like, oh, this is a thing. You can like be a personal finance #debt-free community, like creator, personality. So I just want to say that I appreciate you.
No, I mean, look,
It's
your
like,
content.
wow.
No, can I just say, so coming from the beauty space, which was very competitive and not really community oriented, I didn't really enjoy being in the beauty space. You were the leader, and I stand 10 toes on it. You were the leader on building community in the finance space.
Yeah.
Because I remember you DM'd me. We didn't like, we followed each other, but we didn't know. You DM'd me. We were like, hey, there's some other really great Black and brown creators. Let me put you on. Like, let me like introduce you. And I was like, okay, like, why not? And we got together and built the Clubhouse conversation.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is nice, right? Where I can talk and build community and we're not in competition, we're supporting each other. So
yeah.
You're a leader here. You're a leader out here. We are very much, we're here because of you. So.
Yeah. I agree with that. Echo that.
You are,
Oh my gosh.
girl, it's
Thank
you.
I forgot all about that. But no, you bring up a good point. I feel like even in building a creator journey and sustaining one, it comes down to community. Like, I don't think that I would be here if I hadn't met you all and we just kind of supported one another and said, oh, hey, like, I mean, even now where like brands will reach out, like we'll Slack each other and be like,
Hey,
I know they lost their goddamn mind for this one. Or what do you think we should ask for this? Or like, or let's collaborate together. How can we like bring our talents together? So I feel like that is just such an underestimated part, I think, of building a brand online is that it's not all just rugged individualism. You have to have that community structure, especially when you're getting started out because so many brands, companies will take advantage of you. Not even knowing, what is fair rates, what you should be asking for, right? Like those are way too many deliverables for $100 on PayPal,
and a free product that costs
Child.
free tea.
So we kind of talked about this a little bit, but I wanted to like dig a little bit deeper. How do you all feel like the role of like financial educator influencers differs from other creators? Besides, like, I mean, we talked about the overconsumption angle, but like, do you feel like there are other things? I know for me, I'd be mad that like, why don't we get invited to like all the cute events?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That and regulation. There's so much regulation in the finance space. So it's like, I might want to do, some really cute amplified creative thing or say things a certain way. And they're like, no, legal said no. You got to read this script. And those pieces don't perform as well when we know as the creator, we know how to do this for our audience. It's like, you can't do that.
Yes.
Right? Where if I'm reviewing lipstick or if I'm in partnership with like a lipstick company, it's like, yeah, do whatever. Just
Do
highlight the
whatever.
lipstick.
Right.
And it's like, it's not the same when I'm talking about a financial.
Baby, actually, don't even talk about the lipstick. Just be in Dubai, be in Turks and Caicos, and just, use the hashtag. Actually, don't even use the hashtag. They already know that you're out there.
Exactly.
Girl, yeah.
The creative content on whenever it comes to anything personal finance, to me, it's just very dry. Like you end up not being able to say anything. You can't say money. They're like, no, scratch that. You have to say some form of currency. And it's like, well, make sure you're very specific. The USD. Like, it's just like, okay. Hi.
It comes down even
like
to emojis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, don't use that
no.
emoji.
Yeah.
Like, legal has a problem with the emoji.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a different ball game in the finance influencer space.
But also too, like to just again, like go back to that terrible advice. I think that in the personal finance space, specifically when it comes to influencers, is that we have a duty of care because this is people's money at the end of the day.
Yes.
To our audience, to or however you want to say it, your followers, whatever that looks like. But some people don't care. They're trying to get a quick buck. Like that's why you have to be very mindful of like the sharks in the water. And thankfully, all of us are not that. You know what I'm saying? Like like you said, we're selling Melissa. If it's a course, we're putting our everything into it to make sure that these people come out with a success instead of like, oh, I just got ripped off for $97 and I don't know. So.
But I also feel like it's levels to it because I sometimes feel like even within like the Black money space, like I feel like we don't necessarily be talking to some like other Black creators that I be seeing where I'm just like, how is there no synergy here? Mm-hmm. Like it almost feels like I feel like we are personal finance, but then I feel like other even Black creators that talk about money, I don't feel like they personal finance because you kind of get what I'm saying? Like I feel like when I think about like more, when I think about like the Invest Fest, and, like, that kind of like
we're left out.
We're left out of that narrative.
Like I mean, like I even saw I even saw somebody had like literally had a Black Finance Awards. I didn't know anyone on the picture. Yeah, and I'm just like, how is that possible when? Yeah, I mean, between the three of us and then people like Daisha, Michael, like we're touching hundreds of thousands of people. How is it that we're not even in these conversations?
Yes. And it's not like to toot our own horns, but when we look at our analytics, right? When we look at from there where brands, partnerships, all these awards are like, okay, well, show us your analytics. We have impressions in the millions. The millions, tens of millions. And that's a fact. And it's just like, you don't think we were even worthy of a nomination? Like, we don't gotta win, but geez, like our name's not even like a thought in the nomination process. It's just really strange. It's always been strange to me.
But yeah, I agree with that. All right, let's shift gears. You both have grown your brands and your businesses beyond just social media. So I want to also hear like what inspired you both to become a founder, become an author. Like how did those things fit into like the empires that you're building? You start, Carmen, because I have a lot of questions for you. Girl, why? Do you enjoy inflicting pain on yourself?
It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of pain. Let me first start off by saying this. This has always been my calling. I have always not to be a tech founder. I didn't know what that looked like, but my first pitch was when I was 11 years old. I walked into that 1-800-IDEAS office and pitched the hell out of an idea. And they're like, this is great. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, this is great. Give us $10,000.
Like, whoa.
Wait, what?
Give us $10,000 to make this happen. So, that was my first taste of rejection. But I will say, no, I've always kind of had this thought that, I want to be my own boss one day. Okay. I didn't know what smoke came with that. But But I knew that I wanted to be my own. I pictured what that looked like. The picture is very different. So I will say to anyone listening to this, it is going to be wildly different than you expected. So it's not going to show up in the way that you thought. But what has inspired me or like really helped me want to become a founder is the fact that if we want a seat at the table or to have products that really impact us or think about us first, no one else is going to do that. So it's kind of like, if not me, then who else? Mm-hmm. And there's so few founders in the tech ecosystem that look like me, that look like us, that are creating products that unfortunately will never probably see the light of day because of the lack of funding and all of that stuff. So it was just it was the time, it was the place. And I said, you know what? If I want to make a change and be the change that I want to see in the world, I have to like step up to the plate regardless of how hard this is. And you can never, I thought I knew, but you really can't prepare yourself for how hard this journey is going to be until you're like sitting on the other side.
And tell us about your app, because I don't think we've heard about it on the whole show yet.
So Much is a budgeting app that helps people pay off debt faster. And that is created all around, you know, the journey of me paying off $57,000 of debt in 2 years and 9 months. I quit my job as I hated working in finance, saved up some money to learn how to code, to build this because I couldn't pay anyone to do it. But like I said, like if we're going to have a seat at the table and have products that inform the other people, not melanin, are making products for us to use with us as the last thought in mind.
Correct.
It's, you know, usually very male, very pale, as Berna says, that are making these products. And, you know, I was like, no, I'm going to make an app. You know, nobody else has an app like doing what we need it to do. So I'm going to do it. And that's how it started. I learned how to code, started working in tech actually, and then switched over to being a founder.
Okay, and Techstars, among other things.
I mean, like,
okay, I'm so inspired by you.
Thank you. Yeah, Techstars is definitely like a took 3 tries to get in, but I will say, you know, it shows up when it's supposed to. Yeah,
that's good. Okay, Melissa,
coding. Every time I see you coding, I'm just like,
I'm in tears
and everything.
You know, I'm really in tears at the end of the day, but. I'm doing it.
That's what I mean by y'all real OGs. Like everything that y'all are about, y'all have actually lived through, threw up to the wall, saw what stuck. And I think that's what I really appreciate about both of you. Just like your resilience and just like your authenticity. Like, you know, y'all will never tell somebody to do something that y'all haven't done. Y'all put your own money and lives on the line. And I think that's what, you know, we feel when we see your content. Melissa, what about you? Come on, best-selling author.
Well, I wanted to be an author my entire life. It was literally a goal my entire life. I've been writing in a diary since I was like 8, and they're all stored in my parents' attic. And then they're like, can we throw these out? I'm like, no, never. It's my first writing.
That's for my memoir.
Right? And so I always was like, oh, I'm going to write a memoir. But similar to, you know, your friends who want to be influencers, when I got a publisher, they were like, why do people want to know about your life? I'm like, because I'm interesting. Like, girl, not that interesting, right? And so the book really became like part memoir. So it is part like all my stories and things that I've been through, but it's also really just educating people on how to, from start to finish, navigate their money to go and become future millionaires. That's a really big thing. I want more Black and brown millionaires. That's just what I want, and I want it now. And so, like you said, I had to create that table. And so I talk about my book very often and say that it's for the culture because, you know, I'm cussing in there. I'm using improper grammar, not because I'm not educated, but because like that's how I want to talk to my peers. That's how I want to talk to my friends. That's how I want to talk to my former students. Shout out to them who've been like reposting all over Instagram. But I wrote this book for people who look like my former students, or people who look like us, or people who look like my brothers, who they want to learn about investing. And they're like, oh, who am I going to learn this from? And I'm like, from me. Right. So it was such a dream come true, and definitely didn't look how I thought it would look. Like you said, like I wanted to be an author. I'm like, I'm going to be on the New York Times bestselling list. Like, oh, it doesn't work exactly like that. We're going to, you know, navigate, but I have enjoyed seeing people enjoy the book, experience the book, you know, sharing the book. So it's definitely just been a dream come true.
Okay, and tell us the title and where we can find it.
So This Is Why I Am Broke. You can find it where all books are sold. You can find it on thisiswhyimbroke.com. And we're also getting signed copies with a bookstore soon. So, you know, if you want a signed copy for the holidays for a friend or two, we can get that for you.
Okay, I love that.
Very excited.
See, I'm just like, I love this. I feel like this is so helpful for people to like hear and see, because I think that there's also this idea that like you become an influencer, you make millions of dollars, and then that's it. But the reality is being a creator is so much more nuanced than that. And for many of us, we have to create these true streams of income that we own.
Right.
We don't own nothing on social media.
Right. Right.
And one good time again hacked out of your account will have you
Yes.
Have me saying,
Hand up.
Mark Zuckerberg, you can kiss my blockers. Okay, so let's talk about like the shift from leaving the 9-to-5s. Like,
Okay.
what inspired y'all to leave your 9-to-5s? Were you pushed out? Did you voluntarily make, because I feel like that's also part of the myth, right? The myth is you become an influencer and then 6 months later you can quit your job.
Yeah.
And then people are like, why are you still working a 9-to-5? You make all this money online. First of all, why are you counting my pockets?
Right.
But tell us, okay, but
Facts.
you talked about, Carmen, wait, were all of us laid off?
Yes.
I got laid off,
Yeah.
in 2020.
Okay,
In 2020. But that's not
But
when
then
I
you
quit.
went back.
I went back because I got scared. I needed a
No,
job
that's
to
okay.
keep the lights
That's
on.
so fair.
Again, because the influencing was not influencing enough
Yeah.
to pay the mortgage. So you had to like,
You weren't making Melissa money back
yeah, I
then?
wasn't making Melissa money, And I'm still
Even
not.
I wasn't making money.
Yeah.
It's like this is so funny. Today is actually 1 year since I was laid off.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
That just
awesome.
gave me goosebumps.
Full circle right
Full
there.
circle. They
Oh my
fired me
God.
right after Thanksgiving. I was like, right after a huge project too. They're like, this project's great. And we're also downsizing the marketing department. So bye. Like, oh,
And that was so interesting, Melissa, because you didn't initially put
I
it
did
out there that you were laid off.
I did
Because
it.
even when I got laid off later in February,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that you were going through that until you were like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's been like a couple months since I was laid off.
I
So
was
like,
terrified.
okay.
Terrified.
Even being a creator, you were making good money. Like,
Yes.
where was that fear coming from?
Yeah.
So I feel like I was making enough money to quit my job since 2019. And I was in therapy. Shout out to my therapist. She was just like, just, whenever you're ready, just jump. And then the pandemic happens. And I was like, oh, ain't no jumping.
I ain't leaping down.
Ain't no jumping. Like, there is no way. Right. And so I ended up shifting from education into tech. And I loved it. I was making so much money with the business, so much money from my tech job. I was like, I am balling. Like, this is amazing. I'm going all these trips. And then, like I said, right after Thanksgiving, they're like, oh yeah, so this stream of income that you love is gone now. We're going to pay you till January and good luck, right? And so I had never, and this is such a privilege, and this is why I talk about it so much, I have never paid for health insurance before I got laid off.
Mm.
I didn't know what it was like, and I don't like it. And so
Yeah.
I don't like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so I was panicking, right? Because I'm just like, oh my God, I have to rework a budget. I have this home that I have to still pay for. I have all these bills. And then I have additional things because now I have to pay this health insurance that's not just $5. It's a lot
Wow.
of
A
money.
lot more.
And so with influencing, so I was making really good money influencing back then, still now, but I didn't have like a really good business plan. And I think that's the last time people are like, I just want to influence. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have the strategy. I was just vibing because I had the 9-to-5. So I was like, oh, I'll do this. Maybe I'll drop a course. Like, this is great. But once that steady paycheck was removed, it's like, girl, you need to figure out how to make this a real business. You need to figure out how to have sustainable money because that 9-to-5 money's gone.
Yeah.
So I was terrified. And so I didn't know how to show up in front of the camera to say like, hey, I lost my job that I've been telling you guys all about, and I don't know what I'm about to do. I don't know if I'm going to get another job. I don't even know how I'm going to pay for health insurance. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even tell my parents till January.
Wow.
Oh.
Yes, and because we had this family vacation in December, and I'm like, I don't even know if I should be going on this. Like, I don't know what to tell them. And so I really had to sit down and just be like, okay, girl, like, get this plan together, figure it out. And then once I really felt secure, I was like, okay, we're going to give ourselves 3 months of runway. That's entrepreneurs always talk about runway. Like
Yeah.
I have 6 months of runway. Okay. I was like, I have this much runway. And still now, even with making good money, I'm like, I have eight months of runway.
Edge of the seat.
I'm like, I got 8 months runway. I don't care how much money is coming in. Like, once this number goes below this, I'm looking for a job. Like,
Yeah.
and my partner was just like, but you always, like, you make more money. Like, you
You
have
figure
your
it
own
out.
Yeah, you
dreams. You
figure it
have
out.
partners. Like, you all this. I was like, I don't care, right? So that fear never goes away. It gets maybe smaller, but it's definitely still something that is uncomfortable because I've had a job since I was 16, a
Yeah.
steady
Yeah.
9-to-5 since, well, maybe 9-to-5, I was in school, but a steady paycheck since I was 16. So this is different and it can be exciting and very lucrative, but it's also in the back of your mind, you're just like, what's about to happen?
Yeah.
And then economy, right? So my homeowner's insurance just went up $200.
Mhm.
And I was like, whoa.
Messing up the runway.
Messing up the runway, having to rework the budget and doing all these things. Just like, I don't like that. I'm like, okay, we got 7 months runway. So we're still navigating it. And people ask me all the time, am I going back to 9 to 5? And the answer is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
such a real answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you sharing it, because I think
Yeah.
for so many of us that are probably listening and watching this podcast, we may have experienced layoffs ourselves, and it's scary as hell.
Yeah.
And I feel like we, even being creators online, there's privilege, but then there are also trade-offs. And
Yeah.
I think you've made that very clear that it's like,
Yes.
it ain't all sunshine and roses. And while it's great to have these multiple streams of income, now being an entrepreneur and having that like pressure of like, oh, right, I don't have, oh, wait.
Yes.
That
yes.
186 salary not coming in. Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
And I think for me, I think I teeter and totter because I feel like my financial goals had to slow down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna hit these milestones so quickly because I'm just like stashing all of this money that I'm making from Flynanced. I don't even have to spend it. And ooh, first of all, having a business in New York State, ooh, child.
And Connecticut. Let me say that. The taxes.
Whoa. It's
Yeah.
like, now I see why the girls be moving to Houston, because
Yeah.
I'm
first of all,
getting
a
the taxes
third of
all
all
the
my
time.
money is going to New York State and
Yeah.
the federal government.
Yeah.
So, I think for me, it was also, I had to learn to live in that discomfort of, okay, you may not be able to hit these net worth milestones as quickly as you once did when you were able to, save 25% of your salary
Right.
into
Yeah.
your 401k and max it out in 2 months. When you were able to stash all this money into different savings accounts, and it's fine if that's what you want, And I think I just had to learn to like live in that discomfort.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I was so, when I had the 9 to 5, I think I trained myself to just see like, okay, yeah, when we are
Dollar signs.
doing
Yeah.
we get into the next level, like that's. So what about you, Carmen? I feel like, because you went from layoff to code, back into tech, to tech founder.
Look, I am not at the lucrative and fun part yet as Melissa. I will be full transparent. So I'm at the, I haven't contributed to my retirement in the past 2 years. Like, this is the real deal of entrepreneurship. Okay. Like, let me get into it. All right.
Get into it,
Because they
please.
say, oh, Techstars, you got some money from them. And it's like, okay, I got the money to build a company. $120,000 was one of my salaries for a year, right? That was $120,000 to build a company. That's $10,000 a month. I have to hire other contractors
Yeah.
to, build out certain things and what I was doing at the beginning of the year and so on and so forth. I'm in year 2 on $120,000. Okay, think about that. That's after hiring different people, different contractors. Like, now I have somebody that is basically working with me in terms of just investing into the company, their time, because I can't pay them. I'm not paying I didn't pay myself for an extended period of time. And now that I am paying myself, it's very, very small. Like, I mean, I'm probably making, we were joking at the beginning of this, but like, probably making less than $8 and $7 in a high cost of living area an hour for the amount of time that I put in.
Yeah.
And I'm paying myself less than $2,500 a month. So relative to coming off the high of like, the golden handcuffs working in finance to now trying to figure out how to navigate this journey. And thankfully I have a partner. So, right. Like I have no debt. Well, now I'm starting to get more debt because of the business. I'm trying to make things work. Right.
Mhm.
But like if I didn't have the partner, I wouldn't be able to do this. Right. Because I'm on scholarship right now, like she's helping fund a lot of this journey.
Mhm.
Whereas, and I'll be like transparent with that, because if I didn't have, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't have not been able to at least even do this for maybe for a year, right? And then if it didn't work out, I'd have to shut it down because I have to go back and get a job. But this has been like a very challenging journey. And I will say like the financial component adds way more stress if you don't have the runway than it needs to, and starts like messing up business decisions, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because now you're like grasping at straws, and it might not be the best thing for your business in the long run, but in the short term, it's saving you time, effort, energy, and money, but it's not like necessarily like a really good investment.
Right.
So yeah, this journey has been interesting. Like I said, it showed up differently than how I pictured it.
Yeah.
You know, like I've gotten to the end of runway. I got a $10,000 grant at the end of December. So I've literally been flying on like just by the seat of my pants. And this is that entrepreneur journey that I've heard some people talk about. It's like, we almost closed down 3 times.
Yeah.
We had $10 left and a contract came through. And, you know, I've seen stories on LinkedIn where one founder, was a Black founder, very transparent, said, we basically had to like shut down our company because we have 2 contracts in flight that now we can't actually even actualize because we ran out of money. So it's like we just need somebody to float us a loan, something, so we can get those. We're waiting for the contracts to come in. They're signed. We're just waiting for the money. But now we need we have $0 in the bank. So can someone give us a loan? And it ended up working out. But that's how the journey has been for me. It has been literally building the plane on the way down. And it hasn't necessarily been the most fun thing. But I'm now just year 2 learning to like ease into the process and like really embrace like, what narrative was I sold that made this seem like it was going to be easy? And why did I buy into that?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I love that.
That's true, girl. And which is why I give my hat off to you, Carmen Perez, because I'm like, from the outside looking in, I know that it's tough. I mean, and I feel like you're very transparent in talking about with fintech apps, especially, so many of them have been built by rich white guys. I mean, essentially, you know, who could either front the money or
make it
partnered
free
with these huge corporations and didn't have to kind of deal with the like day in and day out of like actually building the thing.
Yeah.
So shout out Much App.
Much
Yeah.
app.
Download Much App.
Yeah,
okay?
download it. www.usemuch.com.
Yeah.
Head over there. And it's not free because we do not sell your data. So we'll get that question a lot. It's like, well, why? Mint's going out of business, one, so you can't use them anymore.
Yeah.
They're done. But the reason why budgeting apps and all money apps in general end up charging users is because the data aggregation costs money. So it costs money to connect accounts so you can get that data so you can see it in the platform. And the reason why people charge is because, okay, we're not going to sell your data. Unfortunately, there's some platforms that are going out of business that you can't use that are free that sell your data in order to, you know, show you ads and push you things that you may not necessarily need, not necessarily in your best interest. But that's not a sustainable business model. And that's why they're shutting down. So shout out to my
you heard it here, folks.
Did. Building in public. I love when I say that. Building in public.
Yeah.
So we know what we're using, what we're doing.
There you go.
Okay, we're almost at the I just feel like this conversation has been like just so rich. Like I feel like
I agree.
We've really gotten into the heart of so many just misunderstood topics around like what it means to be a creator, what it means to leave the 9-to-5. Girl, don't leave your 9-to-5. How about that? Okay.
Not if you got a lot of runway.
Make them have to literally take you out with your cold, dead hands before you leave your 9-to-5.
Truly.
Seriously, because I see too many messages online trying to shame people into having 9-to-5s or shame women for, you know, oh, you don't really care enough about your thing, your idea if you're still working a 9-to-5. Yeah. And I just think that is such bullshit advice, especially for communities of color where many of us don't have the financial literacy, the wealth, the privilege, or the safety nets to just decide, oh yeah, I'm gonna just give up this consistent stream of income. So that's number one. But I want to hear from both of you if you have any advice for a Black or brown girl or anyone, but you know, 9-to-5, we center Black and brown women's experiences. What advice would you give to a fellow girly out there who wants to build her own brand? She wants to be a creator. She thinks she has something that she could influence on. Like, what advice do you have, especially just knowing how different the landscape looks like today than when the both of you started?
So different. I always say whenever I talk to anyone, whatever part of their journey, your story is what makes you different. Your story is, and you really have to pinpoint the parts of your story you're willing to share. That's another part, right? Because we all have really rich, huge stories, but we're not putting all our business out on Front Street. So you have to pick the 2 or 3 things that you think are going to connect with other people that you can build content around. And so for me, I know it's like being an educator, pivoting into tech, paying off student loans. Like that is my thing, right? And sometimes a little home ownership, but that is my story and that's what I build my content around and that's what connects with my audience. So if you have your story, you're like, I don't know what to niche down, choose the parts of your story you feel are connectable and then that's what you build your brand around. That's always what I tell everyone. Like I wouldn't have been in the beauty boy if I didn't shave my head. So you have to pick the parts of your story that people can relate to.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. I would say like just quickly, I think a lot of us were building before we quit our 9 to 5, right? I think it's important to note, like I was getting up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to learn how to code, getting on before I went to work. After I'd get home, I'd learn how to code. I was posting content on the weekends. Like we work generally 7 days a week. I would say
correct.
Yeah, we work generally 7 days a week.
Can I work 9 days a week? Is that a thing?
Yeah, 9 days a week. Let me not glamorize it, right?
Yeah.
But I will say, if you're looking to build your brand, similar to Melissa, like pick a lane. And if that lane doesn't necessarily work out, it's okay. Give yourself space and grace to be able to switch and pivot to something different that maybe energizes you. But this is going to be for the long haul, right? So you have to be able to talk about something or influence. The girlies want to influence something that you care about, because then you start getting really bored and run out of ideas when it's not something that you're really truly passionate about. So if it's clothes, like double down on that and realize like it's not going to necessarily happen overnight. Good if it does. That's like literally winning the lottery. So don't bet on that. But I would say pick your lane, lean into it, focus on that storytelling and how you can connect with your audiences in an impactful and meaningful way.
I love that. The only thing that I would add is comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes. Correct.
And you got to really make sure that you are truly being called to do this work, not that you are trying to compare what you see other people doing online, because that will always be a slippery slope down into a rabbit hole of misery.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like for me, being a creator, I feel like God put it on my spirit.
Yes.
Because like I could not shake that idea. Like I felt like, you know, like it's just like, what's this idea choosing me? Wait, like I don't want money. No way. Hey. Like I literally remember telling like my family, like, oh, I'm gonna start posting about like my debt-free journey. You don't need to be talking about money online.
Yeah,
that's
nobody's business.
You don't need to tell your business online. Like I remember my grandmother being like really like afraid for me because she didn't understand, right? But I feel that, you know, God put it in my spirit because I was meant to touch other women and help them. You know, my story was the only story that was going to connect with. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I just say back to that comparison piece, because it's like being a creator online, it is day in and day out having to stifle that feeling of no, and no one's better than me, or you know, let me not try to you know, the Forbes 30 under 30 list came out, and
that list annoys me.
But now I don't want to be on it because it's just all the scheming and fraud and.
Okay, but there was a part of me that was like, dang, I wanted that recognition, right? I wanted that recognition. I wanted that validation. And I had to remind myself, girl, that's not what you're called to do.
Right. Yeah. There we go.
God didn't put it on your spirit. You're going to be Forbes 30 under 30.
Right.
God put it on your spirit.
To be 40 under 40, maybe.
Hopefully.
Maybe.
Yeah. But I love though.
Got 5 more years.
We've all been called, like and I think the theme here though is like we listen to kind of that voice. Melissa, you said you've always wanted to be an author. I said I always wanted to be my own boss. I didn't know what that needed to look like or what it was going to look. Always. And you said God called you to do it. And I'm sure every logical bone in our body at some point in this journey, and it's especially for me right now, I'm fighting this. Like, if you called me to do this, why is this so like I said, I bought into that idea that it was supposed to be easy, or somehow some point it was supposed to let up, but new levels, new devils, right? Like
bars.
So you know what I'm saying? Okay. So I just love that. I just want to call that out because you said this is what I was like called to do, similar to you, similar to me. Like let me echo that theme here. So we just didn't dive into this. So again, make sure that content is sustainable with something that you've been called to do.
Yeah. Okay. And don't let haters get in your way, and don't get in your own way.
Ooh.
Because my like person who like gives you the information when we were in college. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be an
Counselor?
English. Yeah, counselor. I don't know what, girl, you're an English major. I was like, oh, I'm going to be an English major. She was like, writing's not going to make you money. I should go pay her a visit, shouldn't I?
Ooh,
Like,
you should send her a book. Send it signed.
like, I should.
Oh, you
Right? She was
should.
like, oh no, right, journalism, because I was gonna do journalism with a minor in English. She was like, no, that doesn't make money. I was like, oh.
Stop crushing dreams.
You
Sign
seem
Melissa.
like a hater. And so yeah, so don't let anyone kind of tell you can't do this.
Right.
Yes.
Try it. See what
Try it.
happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to know what's next for the both of you? Like anything you want to call out that you're working on, building, manifesting, so that we can hold you accountable and come back and say, wow, a year later, Carmen's app is.
I'm in the lucrative stage. That's what, a year later.
That's
I'm in
what's
the
next.
lucrative,
Will be.
fun stage
Okay.
of, at least just for the time being, of like, hey, I'm really happy about the resources that I have in front of me and taking full advantage of them in 2024 to be able to like help grow this company faster than I could have ever imagined. So
I love that.
that's what I'm manifesting for 2024.
Period.
Yeah, period. Rest and
Yeah.
ease on top of that.
Hello.
Yeah. A couple more naps for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I said this at the podcast launch. This is my next big thing. I really would like to write and pitch a show on one of the streaming platforms and have it out there. I don't know about in a year. That'd be great if it's in a year, but in the next 2 years in a major streaming platform.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That writing, paying the bills.
Period. Coming to a silver screen near you.
I hope so.
I was gonna say the next Issa, but not the
that,
next
she's
Melissa.
such a
It's
like,
just Melissa.
yeah, Issa,
The Melissa.
Quinta,
Melissa.
The
yeah.
Melissa we need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period. I love that.
So,
Where can we find you? So we can stay connected.
Okay, I'm on the internet, so
I know you're on the internet, but where on the internet are you?
You're hanging out on the internet. All things make real sense with what is it? CENTS sense. And then also Use Much app, all things Use Much app, or you can go to the website www.usemuch.com. Sign up for a free 30-day trial. Shout out to Sania for letting me plug.
aw.
Of course.
I am a millennial in debt everywhere. I'm on Threads too. We was just talking about that. All platforms, millennial in debt. Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it, mill in debt, character limitations. And millennialindebt.com for resources. We're still blogging out here. We're still getting that SEO.
Yeah.
And just anything that you need on there is free. Free 99.
Okay, I love it. So before we wrap up, I want to do my favorite segment of the show because this has been just such a good episode. But we got to bring it back to the Hottie Hotline where we answer live questions from the 9 to 5 viewers. And this question, I really think that both of you could really chime in on. So the question is, how do you set yourself up to be in a position to prepare to relocate for a new job? So for context, this viewer is a single mom in need of better opportunities, and she has a desire to find a good community and environment to make home for her and her family. She's really just looking for advice on how to get started. How much should she save? And really anything else you can think of. Signed, in search of something new.
I like that. There's two things. One, you're going to pick a number. And I always say pick the number that you think it's going to cost and then double it.
Yeah.
And that is coming from someone who moved out of their parents' house into their first home and didn't realize they had to buy their own kitchen utensils. That I don't know why I didn't think that, right? So pick a number where you're like, oh, I think moving to, California is going to cost me $10,000. Double it to 20, right? As your buffer. And if you are relocating with an offer in hand, negotiate.
Yeah.
Negotiate everything. One of our friends, Michael, Bougie Budger, she was able to negotiate that in her relocation, and that wasn't something that was initially offered. So if you don't ask, you will never know. So absolutely negotiate and see if they can cover all the costs or some of the costs. That is huge. Always negotiate.
I love the negotiating piece is like hands down great advice because I didn't do that. I moved from Florida to New York, relocated. And I will say, just echoing Melissa, just double whatever you think it's going to cost. I didn't realize like you had to, give your social, your blood type, first and last 15 months worth of rent here.
Oh, yes.
Here.
In
In
New
New
York.
York. Yes.
In New York.
Yes.
So, and then like all the connection fees, right? Turning on the cable, internet, heat, like astronomical prices, all that stuff. So I would say for her being a single parent is to scope out the cost of living in that area, research that salary, whatever that's going to look like, and just start saving as much as possible what helped my journey here, because I'm doing exactly opposite of what I'm saying to do. I got a referral fee. I moved just with a hope and a prayer. I was like, all right, I'm going to figure this out. I didn't have good credit at the time. I sublet a place up here in Harlem, but I got a referral bonus from someone. It came through right at the nick of time. I forgot about it. 6 months when I was working at Citi, it's like $3,000, $4,000 came through referral bonus. So if you can refer someone to your job, start looking into alternate forms of income so you could start stacking that so you can get closer to that goal a lot faster, and definitely negotiating your package if you can.
Right.
I love that. Only thing that I would add is, as you think about a place to relocate, think about where you already have a network. Because I think it's so much harder when you're a single parent to try to create that from scratch, right? Even if it's just a couple homegirls, you got a cousin, an auntie, right? Like that's still someone that can open up their network to you in a new city. And those things really do make the difference, especially as you're trying to adjust with your family. Now, to the point about negotiating, I would also say reverse engineer that, right? So if you decide, okay, I want to move to Houston, that's where I got a cousin, I got an auntie, I got a whatever, start to see what companies are based in Houston. Right. Because to your point around relocation, a company is more likely to say, yeah, we'll pay for you to come to headquarters and help you via a relocation bonus than the other way around, than trying to like look for a remote company that may not offer that, or a company based in another state that may not say, we're not going to pay you to work and live in a satellite office, right? Yeah. So I would think about those things too as you prepare, but I think this was just such awesome advice.
I agree.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. And thank you for joining. This was such an amazing episode.
I'm full.
Yes.
I'm full. We were cooking and I am full now. This was great. Like, I feel very energized from this conversation.
Me too.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for listening, okay? This was another episode of 9 to Fly. I'll catch you next week for more tips on how to maximize your 9 to 5, grow your salary, and get that hottie lifestyle that we all want and deserve, okay? Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, y'all. Gotta look at 4.